Auburn's linebacker room is so very young, but also so very talented.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie 5.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie 5, and we are ready to get after it. We're ready to talk about, as we continue to walk through the depth chart, continue to walk through the roster, position group by position group. We're 1 week away from spring practice starting. Can you believe it? Today, we're going to talk about linebackers. Auburn lost all three key snap count linebacker. 2 starters and then a role guy that contributed the vast majority of the snaps. You lose all 3 of those. You only bring back 3. Everybody else is going to be a new face. We're going to talk about that, what this unit looks like. Will the youth and talent be enough? And does Auburn need maybe to add one in the portal? So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. We've started a movement. We've started a movement with Uncle Keith's Red Sauce, just the best tasting salsa with a little bit of a southern kick that you can find in a store or online. You can go to unclekeithsredsauce.com, use coupon code TheBarn25 to take 25% off your order. It's very good. It's an Auburn family. Auburn fans, you can support them, you can show them some love, and you'll get a great tasting salsa at the same time. So show them some love. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce is good, y'all. All right, let's talk about linebackers. We've already talked about safeties. We've talked about corners. Now it's time to talk about linebackers. Last year, you had essentially the vast majority of the snaps you got were from Eugene Asante, Austin Keys, and Dorian Mausi, who ended up being maybe, arguably, one of the better linebackers of the group from a production standpoint. Really good production, really good against the run, all 3 of those guys. With the scheme change, I think we struggled a little bit sometimes in pass coverage, so it's key that, hey, the 3 returning guys that we have, hey, you get another year in the system, another year to kind of learn everything. But you're completely revamping this room, and you're not bringing in guys that have had just a ton of experience playing college football, playing SEC football. So it's going to be a completely retooled room. If there's any position group that I'm quote unquote concerned about, and really the only concern is just that of experience, it's the linebacker room. So let's dive right in. You only return 3. Okay, you only return 3 scholarship linebackers, and that's Robert Woodyard, Demarcus Riddick, and DJ Barber. Everybody knows all 3, but Robert Woodyard obviously just changed number 0. So that's something. If you love number changes, that's something to definitely remember, because you're going to see a number 0 running around out there, and you're going to be wondering who it is. It's Robert Woodyard. Look, Robert Woodyard was one of the holdovers from the Harsin era. I think it was kind of at the time of the flip, it was a big deal because, hey, Harsin got one from Saban. We flipped one from Saban. And Robert's just had sort of you're waiting for the light to come on type career. He's got the physical tools. He's got the athleticism. He's 6 foot, 228, 230, but just never been able to break through. Always seems like they're trying to go out and get someone else to sort of solidify that guy in the middle. He's just never really been able to break through. Last year, he got to play probably the most he's played at Auburn. He played a fair amount of snaps, and there were times where it felt like he showed really good flashes, a lot quicker, a lot more closing speed, especially when the play's in front of him, than maybe most anticipated. I think he's got a chance this year. This is his opportunity. There will be no better chance than right now for him to take over that role as that man in the middle. And obviously, we're all pulling for him. I mean, there's hardly anyone on the roster left from some of those Harsin classes, and he's one that has hung in there. And I think that speaks volumes. I think he could go elsewhere. He could have gone elsewhere. He could have taken a step down, probably gotten some more playing time, but he's hung in there. He's hung in there with Auburn, and I think he's finally going to get his shot. So Robert Woodyard, definitely one to watch in spring. Could this be his breakout year? Is it finally time for him to break out? We'll have to see. Demarcus Riddick, look, I did an interview with Demarcus during the football season last year, and even Demarcus was unsure about what his role was going to be this coming up year. He had a very niche role last year. I will say that, though, when he did go in, when he did start playing, it changed the defense completely, especially when you played more athletic running quarterbacks. He's a freak. He can run faster than most offensive players, and he can do it at 6'3", 220 plus pounds. He's gained some really good weight. He dropped to a single number, which is obviously going to make him much, much faster. It's just science. And where does he play, though? Where does he play? He doesn't really strike me as a middle linebacker. Feels like he needs to be out in space. You need to utilize him on the edge. And I think that's probably where he stays. I think that's probably where he fits the best. But again, I think he's good enough to play in the middle if you need him. But I think you stick him on the outside and let him continue to develop the role that he sort of created last year. Not so much so that he's only really super effective when you're trying to contain the quarterback. Just get better. Just get better. Be a little bit more well-rounded player. And I think he's got every bit of the tools to be able to make that happen. Demarcus Riddick, very, very excited to see, not just see him play, but I want to see what his role becomes. Does it develop? Does he get a little bit of more tools in the box, I guess? Because he's a weapon. I mean, you saw it last year. Whenever he was his speed is just a different level. Those are just players we haven't had. We haven't had players like that for a while, anyways. So definitely excited to see what he does starting next week when spring kicks off. DJ Barber was sort of an unsung hero, one of the unsung guys of that first big recruiting class, that 2024 recruiting class. He redshirted last year, didn't play very much at all, if any. I think he took a couple of snaps. But I think a lot of people are excited about him. He is more of your prototype middle linebacker. He's the guy you think about when you think about an Auburn middle linebacker. Not super tall, but, just really wide, stocky, just, again, prototype linebacker at Auburn. So I'm excited to see what happens with him. He's 5'11", 233. Had a lot of praise, I think, as the season went on and he got more reps. And then this spring really starting to understand that this is his chance to jump in and go. I think he's gotten a lot of positive praise around him. And I think this will be obviously a huge opportunity for him to make something happen, to create a role for himself, to really take a step forward. It's pretty crazy to think you only have 3 guys. I mean, you have obviously some walk-ons and stuff that I'm looking at them. I don't think any of them really had any playing experience. You're basically only coming in with 3 guys that are a part of the system. Everybody else is going to be completely new. But those are your 3 returners. All 3 are going to be really – I think all 3 are really super talented. I think all 3 really have a shot to make something happen. you could say, hey, what happens to a guy like Joe Phillips? Could Joe Phillips move over to being a stand-up linebacker instead? He's still listed as a buck on the depth chart, but could he be a guy that moonlights over there as a returner? All of that will play out next week. These are your guys, though, that are listed as linebackers on the roster that are back, and there's only 3 of them. So newcomers. Let's talk newcomers here in just a second. Before we do that, let's give a quick shout-out to Roback. Go to roback.com. Use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off. I have a package incoming. Got me 2 polos, 2 hoodies. Going to be phenomenal. I got the Auburn hoodie too, the one with the Aubie head on the chest. I'm fired up about that one. Got that one ready for the season. You can save big. Again, use that coupon code, take 20% off. Polos, hoodies, quarter zips, shorts, pants, joggers, hats. They got everything. Top button approved. Great collars. Great looking shirts. A lot of good stuff. Check them out, roback.com. All right, incoming new guys. Let's start with portal. It was of my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinion, that Auburn probably needed to look at a veteran linebacker that they could have brought in, someone that's got some playing experience. If you got an SEC linebacker, that's even a plus with SEC experience. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just the talent that was available or the need, maybe perceived need is different on their side than it is our side from a fan perspective. You do go out and you add an SEC linebacker, but it's a kid that doesn't have a ton of experience, and that's Xavier Atkins. And the second Xavier to the team, which I think is kind of funny. It's just not a very common name, and you got 2 of them on the roster now. Former LSU player, super talented, super fast. Kid is a heat-seeking missile, but he just like a lot of these guys, super talented, just does not have a ton of experience to add, to the resume. Doesn't have a lot of experience on the resume. Where does he fit in? He's a little bit undersized. He's just barely over 200 pounds, 6'2", 206, I think is what it says. Actually it says 201. So 6 foot. Where did it go? I just lost it. 6 foot, 201. I don't think you got him for his size. I don't think you got him for his measurables. They got this kid because he's a blazer. He can absolutely fly. And I think speed is something you definitely need, especially on those outside linebacker. For those outside linebacker positions, you remember how much speed Demarcus Riddick's speed, how much havoc Demarcus Riddick's speed created. This guy's got every bit of that kind of speed. Maybe not quite as fast, but just as explosive as Demarcus Riddick. But again, seems like the theme, doesn't have a ton of experience. Could he be a part of Auburn's rotation early? Just because, hey, you don't have a ton of guys coming back. He's here already. You only have 3 guys that are necessarily veterans, in quotation marks in front of you. The pathway's there. The pathway's there for playing time. It's just a matter of where is he skill-wise now, and how does he fit in? How does he fit into the game plan? How does he fit into DJ Durkin's system? I think you love having as much athleticism as you possibly can at linebacker. You want those guys to be freaky athletes. Auburn struggled a little bit at linebacker in coverage. How do you fix that? Speed, baby. As passing games evolve, the more speed you can have on the field, the better. Helps eliminate mismatches, be able to pick up backs out of the backfield. I think if you watched our film room that we posted recently with T-Dub, it was the Vanderbilt game. And it's the series of, reasons why we lost. And they picked on our linebackers a little bit in coverage with a tight end, had a touchdown pass to a running back. How do you fix that? Speed, recovery speed, able to cover in space. I love the speed of this of these returning guys, plus the addition of Xavier Atkins. You also brought in 3 freshmen, 2 specifically listed as linebacker. One is an athlete that I think is going to start off as a linebacker. The first one, J.J. Falk, the little brother. And I put little in quotation marks because he's not that little. He's actually quite massive. JJ Falk, love his attributes, love his measurables. He is a very, very impressive kid. Very, very impressive athlete. He played a little bit of everywhere in high school. He's coming in at 6'3", 240. Will he stay at linebacker? That has been the question that I have had as far as JJ Falk goes the entire time he's been recruited. He's been called a linebacker. He looks like an edge. He looks like an NFL outside linebacker, pass rushing, buck, edge, whatever you want to call it. Hey, but he's listed as linebacker. He's got the athleticism. Does he have the speed and the agility to be able to play linebacker? Boy, oh boy, you'd love to be able to have a guy in the middle at that size. He's going to be fun to watch. There will be a little bit of a transition. It wasn't much for his brother. He played right away. So I don't know that he's quite the caliber, quite the ready-made guy right out of high school as his brother, but he still could, make some noise. He is nothing to turn your nose up at all. Very, very highly rated kid. JJ Falk, that's definitely going to be one to watch. Elijah Melendez. If I had a dark horse of, and this is not even, I don't even know if you could call him a dark horse, but if there was a dark horse of a guy who could jump into the starting role right away, I think it would be Elijah Melendez. To me, with Elijah, all it's going to come down to is can he grasp the playbook? Because I don't know that there's a linebacker on this roster like him. I don't think there's a linebacker on the roster that is as fierce, that is as aggressive, that's as, let's just say reckless. This kid's reckless with his body and in a good way. If you can be that in a good way, I just don't think I don't remember a linebacker that has his mindset, his intensity at Auburn in quite some time. And if he can get the playbook down, he's going to push right away. He came in already in good shape at 230 pounds, which is plenty enough to be able to be a big time player in the SEC, be able to take the pounding. It's all about the playbook because he checks every box for what makes a big time linebacker. So very excited to see what he does. And then Bryce Diaz. I said Elijah was the dark horse. This guy could also be a dark horse because I think whereas Elijah may be have the best linebacker mindset, Bryce Diaz may be the best athlete in the linebacker room already. I don't want to say best not at least the second best athlete. I think Demarcus Riddick's the best athlete, but I think Bryce is right there with him. Played running back in high school at St. Francis Academy. Also played linebacker. Great highlight film. A lot of explosion. Good speed. To me, the goal of spring with Bryce Diaz is to find his position. Where does he fit? Because I think he could play a number of spots. I think he could even go to the running back room if needed. But I think they're going to start him out at linebacker, and I am excited to see what happens with him. They call him Juice. So get ready for that. It's on the actual roster. They put nicknames on the roster now, and he is Juice. And I think he's going to bring some juice to that room. So that, to me, is going to be the theme with him. Find out where he fits because this guy needs to be on the field. So a lot of fun to look forward to in the spring. That's 3 returners. You're bringing in 4 new faces, completely revamped, completely retooled linebacker room. Last thing to talk about, hey, should Auburn still go to the portal? You got the spring portal period coming up. I think what you do is you evaluate, you use spring. This is a big evaluation time. Do we have what we need? Because the only thing this group lacks to me is veteran leadership. So you evaluate what you have and you decide, hey, do we still need that veteran mindset? Do we still need that one guy to complete the room that's a little bit older? Perfect timing the way this thing works out. You got all these young guys that are going to be able to get all the snaps, as many reps as they possibly can. And then you can decide, hey, do we need to see what's out there to bring one in to add to the room? Hey, I don't think anybody would leave just because you got so many new guys. I think you're good there. But I mean, I guess that's always on the table. That to me is going to be the big question mark after spring. Do you go get a veteran? And what veteran could be available? Probably going to be a guy that's from a playing at a lower level that you're going to bring up. That would be what I would think you'd be looking at. Possibly bringing in somebody that's played a bunch, maybe has 1 year left, wants to pop on the SEC level. Maybe one of those guys turns up. Let me know how you feel about the linebacker room. I'm cautiously optimistic. I really am. I think they got all the gifts, all the tools. It's just a matter of, it's just a matter of experience. Hey, you don't get experience until you get experience. You can't get experience until you just get experience. And they're going to get the best experience you possibly can in spring. Very similar to the Deuce Knight situation. Not a ton of guys in front of you. Not a ton of guys to share reps with. Not just a jam-packed full room. Get a chance to put some work in. Some good work in. Spring practice starts 1 week from today. Who do you think steps up as the leader from the group? Does Auburn really need to go to the portal? Let me know what you think in the comments. Or do you think we just develop what we got and see what happens? Love to hear your thoughts. I love to, in all your interactions, I appreciate it. I try to respond to nearly every single comment that I possibly can. So, guys, I really appreciate it. We're going to keep doing this day by day, walking through the depth chart. Probably sprinkle some basketball stuff in as the SEC tournament kicks off on this show. And obviously, we'll still have the Barn Hoops podcast as well. Guys, if you like the video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. Follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. We're going to be back every single day this week. I'm even going to try to get some shows up while I'm at Disney. We'll see how that works. Could be different face, but we're going to make sure we keep the content going. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening and drive home safely.